Welcome to the Agent Bridge podcast. We're your hosts, Brandon Baca.
And I'm Marl Hessen.
The Agent Bridge is the proven path to real estate success without the burnout. All right, well, let's get into episode 8. By the way, how was Thanksgiving? How was Mississippi?
It was great. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it was honestly, this is my first Thanksgiving not in the corporate world. So
Okay.
I actually had a bit of time to spend with my family, which was nice.
You weren't worried about getting back to it, or what was going on in the corporate world?
I'm still consulting for them, so there's still a lot going on, but I was able to check out.
Nice.
I mean, it is, it's a slower time, so it's easier to check out.
What was interesting for both you and for me, so where I went home to Sherman, Texas. The Wi-Fi isn't great at my parents' house, or it doesn't exist. I think you had maybe a similar problem.
Oh, it doesn't exist in Mississippi.
Right.
So here's the story. Since we're doing it sounds like we're going to start this one off a little bit more fun than we have in the past.
Right.
There's a big river outside of her parents' house. So they live on a couple thousand acres and there's no one anywhere near them, but you can't get the internet across the river. So
Interesting.
there's only like 5 people who live over there in this section. So it's like, 5 people. Why would we going to run aerial cable and do all this just so we can serve 5 people? So it's presumably never going to get.
Well, for us, so where my parents live is like sort of east of town in a small town. And so it's so expensive to get internet out there that it's not feasible. And so you can get like a hotspot if you put your phone just right in the window and you lift your left leg up, then we can.
That's hilarious because there's a window by the kitchen table that I get like 1 bar of not even LTE service.
Right.
And, sometimes I can get a few emails downloaded. We had a YouTube. So let's talk about that. We haven't talked about that at all.
Okay.
So we've got a couple different channels. So we've got YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Facebook page. We've
Right.
got Instagram. You need to like and subscribe all of those. It's at the Agent Bridge on all of them.
Yeah, please do.
So YouTube, anyway, we had episode 7 and I needed to get it uploaded and that was not going to happen. The file was like 5.5 gig and it would have taken like 12 weeks or something to download. So, anyway.
Well, I mean, I honestly, I'm not sure that I want that to change. It's like, yes, there would be a level of convenience from being there, but I also kind of like the idea that, it's not even worth checking my phone because nothing's going to show up. And so it's kind of nice in a way because when I'm there, it's like I have an excuse not to be in touch.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And, everybody, we all do it, right? We all think we're super busy. We talked about that in the webinar yesterday. Everybody thinks they're busy, busy, busy. In reality, you're probably scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and doing something that's not important. Spend that time with family. It's much better served.
Agreed. Okay.
Before we jump in, though,
Yeah.
I want to say that, Brandon last week called me out, said he wanted a neon sign in the background. He's really bougie like that. I didn't get a neon sign yet, but I took care of it. I've got him a background now.
Yeah.
He can't complain, and I've
That's
got
true.
him something a little lit up. So
It's cool. But my brother corrected us. When I was talking to him, he goes, "Hey, listen," which by the way, shout out to Brent. He's an avid listener of the podcast. But he was saying, he goes, they don't do neon anymore. Everything's LED. So
yeah. Well, now our millions and millions of viewers know I took care of you right here.
appreciate it.
All 6 of you.
All right. Well, let's jump into our series. So we talked about, basically lead generation. We talked about follow up and getting people to close. We may go back and revisit some of that stuff, but what we're going to talk about today is like common listing mistakes. I think it's a really good time to talk about that right now because listings are starting to kind of pile up a little bit. And I think that can be perceived as switching from a seller's market to a buyer's market. However, I don't think that that's the case. I think that there are still more buyers than sellers. So there's still a lot of demand in the marketplace. So the big change now is that people are pricing wrong to begin with, or they're maybe not doing the listing right to begin with, or they don't have the right strategy in selling a property.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like, so the title of this podcast, I think, is Common Listing Mistakes.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's still high demand, there's still low inventory. I still don't think it's completely balanced out, which is why you're seeing kind of what you're seeing in the marketplace right now, even with the rates being up.
Yeah. So I want to go through just some common listing mistakes that agents make when they're getting ready to sell a property. So you've done all this work, you've done your for sale banners, you've done your follow up, or you've done your SOI, and somebody that's in your network, and it's time to list the house. And where agents mess up a lot is they don't know how to have honest conversations. They're so excited, they get so excited about getting this listing that they make a lot of mistakes. So they basically will tell the seller what the seller wants to hear just to get that thing on the market. And then they sort of like, okay, well, hopefully somebody will bring me an offer and then I can get this thing under contract. When the reality of it is you're going to delay your days on market, which is ultimately going to lower the overall selling price of the house because you weren't willing to have the honest conversation with the seller. So it's important to list the right way, to put this on the market in its best light so that it can sell quickly or appropriately and sell at the right price.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people always want to do that, right? They always want to say, like, whatever I can say to get this listing so that we can move on to the next stage, when in reality, you're doing yourself a disservice right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, you're right, you're going to end up dropping the price probably more than you would if you just come in strong with a good list price.
Right. And then you got to get sellers to understand that too. So the negotiation, we'll talk about negotiation in a future podcast, but negotiation actually starts when you're working with a listing or when you're working with a buyer.
Everybody thinks their house is worth more than it really is. Yeah. And everybody thinks it's in better condition and more showable than it is in reality. And these are all conversations you have to have up front.
That's right. So people are overly optimistic. So, okay, number one problem is when agents do what I call buying the listing. So this is specifically in reference to price. So when the seller says, hey, we need to give ourselves a little wiggle room on the negotiation, or when the seller says, Joe Smith down the street sold his house for X amount, so I want to get the same amount, which they probably don't have an objective opinion about actually what happened at the sale of that house down the street.
Or do they have the upgrades? Do they have, is the condition of the house the same?
Or was Joe telling them the truth?
That too.
Yeah. So, obviously like people sort of exaggerate a little bit when they're talking about, how great they're doing. So don't fall into the trap of buying the listing. Don't just tell the sellers what they want to hear on the price. So I don't get really, in my process in listing a property, I don't get argumentative. I try to be tactful, and I try to present enough data based on their property and the condition of their property to make sure that they have a full understanding so that they can make the decision correctly. So I'm sort of like leading them to the right decision rather than dictating. And I've had agents that I've talked to before that are dictatorial about pricing strategy. I don't think it's effective, or people get ticked off. I think there's a way to present to present the information in the proper way so that people can kind of see what you're seeing in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, let me pull this up. All right, so make sure when you are having this conversation with the sellers, you're presenting the information, you're looking at comps. And the other thing is I like to have comps are just this, grid on a piece of paper. You need to give a little context for the comparables. So I think it's wise to have your laptop there so you can show them, like, if a property sold at a specific price or at top of market, you need to show them why it sold top of market. So what was the condition of the home? Typically, like if I were to pull comps in a neighborhood, I'm going to look at the price per square foot, generally speaking, okay? And I'm going to be able to tell you where the good, better, and best, or poor, average, above average, or best property is going to sell based on price per square foot. So I can see what's selling at the top of the market, what's selling at the bottom of the market, and then where my client's home falls in that context. So, I'm looking at the person that sold at the top of the market. Why? Typically, it's remodeled kitchen, remodeled bathrooms, specifically the master bathroom, fresh paint, fresh carpet.
Yep.
And it's not rocket science. It's just they did the right things. It's a well-maintained house. They took care of their air conditioner. The roof is is insurable. Like all of those things. There's nothing deficient about the property except some minor things. It's people just took care of their house.
Yep.
There's the other sort of like average or above average property where it's like, hey, they made some upgrades. Maybe they did all the downstairs bathrooms, but they haven't made it to the upstairs yet, or they replaced the flooring in the dining room, but they didn't replace the carpet. So that's your sort of above average. Your average is where people sort of didn't really do anything. They kept the house clean. They fixed what needed to be fixed. And then the below average is somebody who just like let their pet run wild in the house, and there's carpet pulled up in a certain area, or the baseboards are all scratched and
Smells like cat urine.
It smells like cat urine, exactly. So that's where your properties are going to fall in that spectrum, and so you have to be honest with your clients. It's like, okay, where is your house in the spectrum of properties that have sold in the last 6 to 12 months, and then basically do an apples to apples comparison on their property, the condition of the property versus somebody else's. That's the best way to go about it. So make sure that you're being honest with them or showing them the data and context for the data that you're giving them.
I think there's this misconception in the marketplace right now that the market is tanking and everybody's dropping their price. Mm-hmm. And I think you were about to say it, or you hinted on it earlier. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people are still getting super aggressive on the list price based on what happened 4 or 5 months ago. Yep. And they're coming out of the gate priced too high, thinking it's very easy to sell like it was back in the summertime. And that's just not the case. So they're dropping their price. And guess what? When it hits the right price, it's still selling pretty quick.
Yeah, I think basically what was happening in the previous market is that people were, like every time like houses would go over asking price, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over asking price, that became the new platform to launch the next list of properties. And then somebody else would say, okay, I'm going to start here at this inflated price, and then I'm going to get multiple offers on that. And the reality of it is that multiple offer, cash over asking price due to immense scarcity, that part's gone. So you're just you're seeing not a decrease in value, but an accurate representation of value in the marketplace.
Yep.
It's not kind of sort of like forever going up at a massive inflation amount.
No. I mean, if you still look back to what we were at before COVID all started, we're still well above that. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the second thing is when agents are not honest about the condition, and we talked a little bit about this previously, but one of the big things is like pet odor, and nobody likes to tell a seller that the house doesn't smell great, or they don't like to tell the seller that the curio cabinet full of porcelain dolls isn't really good.
It's not super creepy.
Yeah. It's very difficult to tell someone like their style is not, it's not going to attract the largest pool of buyers, right? So
yeah. My wife's very good at decorating, and she has really good bedside manner for all of this. Like it's like she kind of words it in a way that's kind of leans more towards let's declutter, but she picks and chooses the right things to quote unquote declutter.
Right.
But depersonalizing the house is another one. But anyway, keep going.
No, one of my favorite lines is from Adrian Martinez, our broker in Dallas. He says, "Hey, it is not your home; it is a product. So we're going to put this product in the best light possible, and so we're going to depersonalize as much as possible, so that we can attract the widest array of buyers."
Yep.
So, one of the things, another one is like, closets are going to be sometimes full of clothes, like take half the clothes out of the closet. We do need to do fresh paint and carpet in a lot of scenarios, unless they've had it done recently. But yeah, you basically want to take the product approach, right? Again, it's not your home anymore. It's a product. So in sort of thinking about this, what do we need to do to put this product in the best light and attract the widest array of potential buyers?
There are other ways to phrase that too. I mean, if you're concerned about the seller's taste, you personally as a listing agent, you might want to offer just that concession up front. Just be like, hey, we know that upstairs needs new carpet, so we're going to offer a carpet allowance or something along those lines so the buyer can choose. But that way you're owning the fact that the carpet's not in the state that it needs to be in. You don't want to make the choice because they're going to go out and pick blue shag carpet, and you're going the seller or the buyer rather is still going to benefit from the fact that it needs to be done.
Yeah, one of the other things that I think is super helpful is when you identify with the seller, because let's be honest, for most of you guys that are out there, with the exception of RL and Anna Lauren, your house isn't show ready. It's not ready to go. It's not ready because you're living in the house. You've got, stuff in the corner. You've got, like for me, we came home after several days, and my wife's going to kill me for this, but there was a little bit of pet odor, right? Because we have a golden retriever and she was laying around the house for 4 days. Okay. So anyway, I'm in trouble for that. Yeah, so anyway, don't worry. She doesn't listen to this.
Probably not. She's missing out. There's millions of people that do.
Exactly. So one of the things that I do is like, hey, look, I do the same thing as like, if I were living in my house right now, or if I put my house on the market, all of these things that I'm telling you, I have the same problems. So it's not personal to you. It's just universal. So it's the same thing.
Yeah, just being a little bit of human about it. Just be like, if you come over to my house right now, it's not show ready either. So I'm not judging you, but
right, exactly. Yeah, the way I live in my house is not the way that I sell my house.
Yep.
So so yeah, just connect with them on that human level. Okay. Okay. The other one is, this drives me crazy because it's 2022. It's almost 2023, and people are still taking like phone pictures of houses.
And they're like with flip phones or something.
Oh my gosh.
Like the iPhone 12, 13, 14, they all take fantastic pictures. But for some reason, when people take these phone pictures now, it looks like, they're grainy and they were from a wind up camera.
Yeah. It's like, did you rub a Hershey bar over the aperture?
Yeah.
Right before you took these pictures? It's unbelievable. I don't know who's doing this. Like,
was your 6-month-old like sucking on the lens of the camera and then you took it? Or I don't know what it was, but
it's unbelievable. So do not take iPhone pictures. I don't care how good of a photographer that you think you are. Don't take iPhone pictures, number one. Number two, just spend them 150, 200, 250 bucks, right? And have a professional come take the pictures.
I have heard a number of agents lately say that that's where they want to save a little bit of money. They want to, go in and take the pictures themselves and set up the tripod and do all that. It costs you $100, $150 if it's a luxury listing, maybe a little bit more, but not worth your time.
Well, the other thing that I think about is like, vehicles like cars. Like, look at their marketing, look at the pictures that they take. Like, they put the car in the best light, and that's a $50,000 to $100,000 product. When, a house is going to be $2, $3, $4, $5, $1 million product, it's worth spending the money to get that marketing right? And to take great pictures of the home. So, make sure you're taking professional pictures. Don't do it yourself. If you're a professional photographer, maybe I'll give you a pass. Maybe. But otherwise, take professional pictures. The other one is people put too many pictures.
Yeah. Pictures of the laundry room, pictures of the half bath upstairs, closets.
Don't again, from a marketing perspective, if we were taking pictures of a car, like I'm not going to open up the,
console
and take a picture of the inside of the car. Exactly. Take a picture of the inside of the console or underneath the seat. Like, we don't need to see that stuff. Like, take the pictures of the best items, because your job as an agent is to get people out to take a look at the house. They'll figure out the laundry room, but just because the laundry room is not going to sell the house.
Trust me, they're not going to think that it just doesn't have one. Like,
right.
They'll know, hey, I got the pictures of the rooms I need to see, and then I'll go see the house.
That's exactly right. So you're going to get more people through your house, because there are sometimes, like, when you take one bad picture, that is representative of, like, people perceive that as the quality of the house. So if you take a picture of the kid's bedroom and it's a weird color and they've got posters all over the wall, then that's going to create a negative emotion or a check for the buyer. Because when buyers are looking through properties, They're not looking for reasons to see your house. They're looking for reasons to not see your house. So don't give them reasons to not see the house.
That's right.
Okay, the other one. Overpricing based on improvements that don't add value. Now, this one is kind of complicated because there are things that you would think add value to the property that don't.
Absolutely.
And there are things that you think don't add value to the property that do. And the reality of value, it is completely subjective. So that's one of the things is like people like to put property value in a box, and it's very difficult to do. So, I mean, you even as an analytical person, you can tell you like there are some things like to you, probably like when it comes to adding value to a property that don't really make sense.
Absolutely.
Like, why does a $15,000 kitchen remodel add $30,000 to the value of your home, but a $10,000 driveway redo adds zero value to the property of your home? Because it's subjective opinion and it's largely emotional. So that's one of those things that's hard to quantify for people. Like they don't get it. They're like, well, I just put this new roof on and it cost $20,000. So my house is worth $20,000 more. Nope.
People are going to assume it has a quality roof on it already. So that's kind of
exactly.
Now, there are situations where you can do a remodel and it works both ways. Like, let's say you added a $10,000, weight room to your garage. Mm-hmm. Well, if somebody walks in and they really want a weight room in the garage, mm-hmm. they may like it and they may pay a little bit more for it. But most people are going to be like, I didn't want a weight room in the garage to begin with. That's so right. I don't care if you put a $50,000 weight room in the garage. That's I wanted to park my car in there. So it's situational. That's maybe a bad example, but there are a number of improvements you can do. And if the right buyer walks in, great. But if they don't, then you wasted your money.
Well, here's one that's specifically like if you're a home seller and you're listing this property and you're thinking about putting a pool in, right? Understand that is a sunk cost, right? Because 50% of people want pools, 50% of people don't want pools. At best, it's worth half of what you spend on it.
Yeah.
So you just have to know that going in. No offense, because I know you just put a pool in.
Well, but I wanted one. So it's like I did it because I wanted it, not because I thought it was going to add a ton of value to the house. And, the COVID brought a lot of pools into play because people were staying at home and they needed more things to do. So I would say that we were maybe in a unique situation for a bit while people were stuck at home, is that people were looking for that. But he's right, don't think it adds exactly the amount that you spend on it in value, because it won't. Because some people will walk in that house and be like, I don't want to maintain a pool.
Yeah. It's just very particular, I think, to the I don't know how to maybe explain this, but the broadest emotional value possible. So, everybody wants a remodeled kitchen. Not everybody wants a pool.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants remodeled bathrooms and a really nice master bedroom. But yeah, there are things like, the driveway again. I think my in-laws are getting ready to sell their property. They're probably going to spend, $2,000 or $3,000. So it does make the property more sellable in a sense, but it doesn't make it more valuable.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a person that's going to walk through a house that when you did a complete addition to the back of the master bedroom and added like a his and hers closet with an extended bathroom, that's going to complain about that. But there's a bunch of people that would say, I don't want a pool. I don't want to deal with a pool. I think it's a liability for my children or whatever.
Yep.
So it's situational.
Okay. The other one is people don't want to tell the sellers that the price needs to come down. So if they have, maybe we've been on the market for a little while, and so here's, if you've just had this on in the background, this is the time where you need to zero in and listen. Okay, because there are two things that determine the sale price of a house. Okay, or the sell of a house, and one of them is price, and the other one is condition. Okay, so when you have a property that is not selling, okay, you either need to lower the price or you need to raise the condition. I talk to realtors constantly, and they're like, well, I can't figure out why this is not selling. I was like, I know exactly why it's not selling. I've never seen the property.
Yeah.
It's either the price is too high or the condition's too low, period. When price and condition meet, that's when the property will sell.
I would say anytime we're talking about a listing in any one of our meetings at our brokerage and there's an issue, it's always not priced appropriately.
I mean, 99.7% of the time. Now, sometimes you get a weird property or there's some sort of like, uniqueness to something that makes it a unique situation, but it's price and condition.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, if it's a unique property and you've got to find the right buyer, there may be a buyer out there that would pay that price. But if you lowered it, you would open it up to a number of buyers. So that it's almost always just a pricing issue, even if it's just out of place in the market.
Right. The other thing that you use to determine the pricing condition, these are other two important things to put in your lexicon, right, is showings and offers, right, in terms of like the number of showings to generate an offer. Okay, so those are the only two things that we have, or the only two indicators we have to know. Because a lot of people are like, well, you got 787 views on Zillow. That doesn't matter, right? What I want to know is how many showings did I get? How many offers did I get? Okay, and the ratio of showings to offers is you should get one offer for every 10 showings. Okay, so honestly, the only thing that really matters is offers. Showings are sort of a lead in to the offer. So I should get 10 showings and one offer. So if I don't get any offers and I'm having 10 showings, that means I'm overpriced. And if I don't get enough showings, that means I'm overpriced. Period. So I can raise the condition to be level with that price, or I can lower the price.
Period. Or he took flip phone pictures, but whatever.
Right, exactly. But here's what I'll tell you. If you line this out, so if you have this conversation on the front end with your sellers, then it's you that's in the driver's seat, because you've presented the objective evaluation of the property, or the objective, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of...
in reality, you've just used your experience to dictate how the situation should play out. So basically you're saying, in my years of real estate experience, 10 showings leads to an offer. This is how we want to run our listing. And if we get to 10 showings, we don't have an offer, we need to have another discussion. So you're setting it all out up front, and then you're not the bad guy when you've got to come in and say, we're dropping our price because what I told you before, we had 10 showings, no offers.
Right. So yeah, and you need to set a time every week to call your sellers and give them an update on the number of showings and if any offers came in. And you need to look at days on the market to determine what how much time you should get those showings. So again, if you've got 30 days on the market, average days on market, that means I need 2 to 3 showings a week, right? Because 2.5 times 4 is 10. So 2.5 a week times 4 weeks is 10. So if I'm hitting that 2 to 3 showings a week, that means I'm on track for 10 showings in 1 month. That would generate an offer. In the marketplace the market that we just got out of, we were having 10 showings in the first 2 days, and we get offers on all those. Right?
Or even 10 offers and 10 showings.
Right. So you've got to keep yourself as the advisor. You've got to keep yourself in the driver's seat. You're calling them every Monday and you're updating them on, hey, what happened over the past week? And then that way you can say, hey, look, this is what the market is telling us about what's going on with your property. Not what you're saying, what the market is saying about the property. Because it's out there. Like if you put it on the MLS, it's on every real estate website known to mankind. That's one of the things that, by the way, bugs me about real estate agents is like, we syndicate with all of these websites. Well, everybody syndicates with all the websites. When it goes on the MLS.
Yeah, guess what? When you click the submit button, it pushes to all those
Exactly. It's called an IDX, right? So it submits to all those places. So yeah, everybody that is in the market for that home is going to see it, right? And that's another thing that I would say with sellers on the front end is say, hey, look, there's no lack of marketing. When I put it on the MLS, everyone that's in the market will see it. The only indicator is, do they see it and does it meet their expectations for the price of the property? Period.
That's right.
Okay, so let's recap here. Your sort of common issues is, hey, don't buy the listing. Make sure you're having honest conversations about all of these things, about the listing price of the house, about the condition of the home. Take great pictures. Have honest conversations about improvements that add value, right? And not ones that are just sort of normal for that price of home. Okay. And make sure that you have set the stage to make price changes if necessary based on objective data, based on what the marketplace is telling you. Remember, it's price. When price and condition meet, the house will sell, and 10 showings should generate one offer. All right. So hopefully you are leaving this podcast empowered to go have honest conversations, that you're empowered to have the data and the information to go sell houses to your client or sell your clients' houses.
Yeah. The only thing I would add is just if you didn't pick up on it, the common theme here was honesty. Mm-hmm. If you were listing your own home tomorrow, you would want somebody to be honest with you so that you could sell it in the shortest amount of time possible. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste the potential agent's time. So be honest with your clients. They will appreciate it. You might lose a few clients here and there over this in your real estate tenure, but you're going to win over more people than you lose because people don't want their time wasted. So the common theme, again, is just honesty. Just walk in the house, give your honest opinion, do it tactfully, but give it honestly, and you're going to win over more people than you lose.
Okay, that's great. Okay, please, guys, if you would like and subscribe to our YouTube channel when this comes out, please leave us a review for this podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next week.